Hey there! Welcome to Jackie Talks Horror. I'm Jackie, and today I'm going to do a rundown of 5 of my favourite horror films released this year so far in 2025 up to June. Now, if your favourite isn't on here, odds are that I haven't seen it yet, so make sure you drop it in the comments below so I can check it out. This is all spoiler free, so don't worry if you haven't seen these films yet. And just to be clear, these are in release date order, not ranked. And a quick heads up. I'll be using IMDb images and clips from trailers throughout this video, and I will link to the trailers in the description below. So first up we have The Ugly Stepsister, which was in cinemas on the 7th of March this year. Directed and written by Norwegian filmmaker Emily Blichfeldt, The Ugly Stepsister is a Norwegian language, twisted and unflinching reimagining of the classic Cinderella story, this time told from the perspective of the ugly stepsister herself. Leaning into body horror, with a sharp streak of dark comedy, it reminded me a little of The Substance, but with fairy tale flair and some serious gruesome grit. Leah Mirren is phenomenal as Elvira, the so-called ugly stepsister. Her performance is raw and expressive and completely unfiltered. You see Elvira evolving through the film, gaining confidence while navigating a world that only notices perfection. Her journey is deeply unsettling, but she's played with empathy, and I found myself strangely feeling as sorry for her as Cinderella. Anne Dahl-Trop is equally strong as Rebecca, Elvira's mother, a manipulative and ambitious woman who will stop at nothing to elevate her daughter's status, even at great physical cost. The setting is beautifully crafted with lavish costumes and picturesque scenery, which makes a brutal body horror hit even harder. The film doesn't shy away from the grotesque, especially in its depiction of historical cosmetic surgery. There's no anaesthetic, no mercy and no glamour. It's visceral, painful and barbaric, and you feel every moment of it. What surprised me was how funny this film could be. It's got a wicked sense of humour that cuts through the intensity and reminds me that even fairy tales can be twisted fun. Whether you're laughing or grimacing, it grabs hold and doesn't let go. If you like your horror, bold, bloody and a little bit bonkers, this one is well worth your time. Keep an eye out for it. The Ugly Stepsister is a hidden gem that you do not want to miss. So next up is Drop. Directed by Christopher Landon, Drop is a slick, tense horror thriller that dropped, pun intended, into cinemas on 11th of April 2025, and I really do think more people should be talking about it. The story centres on Violet, a widowed mother, played by Megan Fahey, who heads out on her first date in years to an upscale restaurant. What should be a simple night out quickly spirals into a nightmare when she begins receiving anonymous threatening messages on her phone. The catch? She's forced to follow the sender's instructions without alerting anyone around her, especially her date. Played by Brandon Sklenar. Executed with razor-sharp tension, Landon keeps the film grounded in real time, letting us sit in the discomfort as things escalate, from unsettling to downright terrifying. It's not a high-concept horror flick, full of gore or jump scares. This one thrives on unease, dread, and the fear of being watched and manipulated. Both Fahey and Sklenar are excellent here. Fahey in particular gives a gripping performance, balancing fear and emotional restraint as her character tries to stay composed in an increasingly hostile situation. Sklenar matches her intensity, and the chemistry between them adds an extra layer of complexity. While the film does stumble slightly at the end, it never derails, and the right getting there is more than worth it. Drop is a thriller about power and survival, and it's a reminder of how horrifying it can be when the threat isn't a monster in the dark, but someone with your phone number and total control. As a fan of watching how people deal with extraordinary situations people are put in horror films, and how they manage to get out of them, or not, as the case may be sometimes, I really enjoyed this story, and I love the acting in it. It's underrated, well crafted and absolutely worth a watch. So next up is Sinners. Set in 1930s Mississippi, Sinners is a genre-blending supernatural horror with gothic flair, spiritual tension and more than a little raunch that took cinemas by storm on the 18th of April 2025. Written and directed by Ryan Coogler, this is a bold, character-driven vampire tale that fuses social commentary with folklore, music and deeply personal stakes. Michael B. Jordan gives a stunning dual performance as Smoke and Stack, twin brothers trying to outrun their past, and he's joined by a standout ensemble, including rising star Miles Caton as their blues-singing cousin Sammy, Delroy Lindo as a drunk local legend, and Jack O'Connell as a quietly menacing Remick. Wunmi Masoku and Hayley Steinfeld bring strength and presence to roles that could have so easily been sidelined in a lesser script. The first half of Sinners plays almost like a southern drama, rich in character, slow-burning in tension, but when the horror kicks in, it really kicks in. Vampirism here is more than myth. It's personal, tied to generational trauma, temptation, and the cost of survival. Visually, the film is stunning. The lighting, wardrobe, and period detail are impeccable, and is elevated by a soundtrack that weaves Delta blues with Irish folk, giving the film an otherworldly rhythm that perfectly suits its haunted tone. It's long at 2 hours 17 minutes, and it's not for the faint-hearted. It's violent, sexy, emotional, raw, and packed with adult themes. But it's also funny, soulful, and totally committed to its vision. Coogler doesn't hold back, and Sinners earns its place as one of the most distinctive horror films of the year. Definitely not one to watch with your nan, but absolutely to put on your must-see list. Next up is one of my most anticipated for May, Final Destination's Bloodlines, which hit cinemas on the 16th of May. 14 years after the last Final Destination film, and Bloodlines brings the franchise back swinging in with a killer mix of dark humour, brutal deaths, and a surprisingly emotional send-off for fan favourite William Bloodworth, played one last time by the late great Tony Todd. Directed by Zach Lipovsky and Adam Stein, Bloodlines gives us a slightly different structure than we're used to. The opening premonition is epic, intense, and gorgeously shot. The film clocks in at nearly 2 hours, making it the longest in the series, but that extra time is very wisely used. We get stronger character development and a few longer death sequences that really hit hard and make you wince. So Brett Bessinger plays Iris. His premonition is tied to the disturbing family history. The rest of the cast, including Caitlin St. Juana, Tio Briones, and a standout performance from Richard Harmon and an emotional appearance from Tony Todd, round out one of the most likeable ensembles the series has had, which only makes it tougher when things inevitably go south. There are clever fake-outs, some gnarly kills, and a real sense that death isn't messing around. The film pays homage to previous entries without getting bogged down in fan service, and it feels like a true continuation of the franchise, not a cash-in. Some visuals feel a bit 3D heavy, despite no 3D release, and not every kill lands perfectly, but as a whole, it's a strong, fun, and brutal return to form. For long-time fans, it's a fitting tribute to Todd's legacy, and a solid high note to potentially end the series on. Though, let's be honest, we'd all come back for one more. If you've ever been a fan of the Final Destination series, this one's absolutely worth your while. It brings the chaos, the callbacks, and just the right amount of heart, so don't miss it. So next up, and last on this list, is Bring Her Back, an A24 horror film that hit cinemas on the 30th of May 2025. It comes from the Australian twin directors, Danny and Michael Filippo, the same duo behind Talk to Me, which is one of my top 5 horror films of 2022. So I went in hopeful, and tried to manage expectations with all the hype, and honestly, it did not disappoint. This is a film that's sad, creepy, and emotionally charged, with some genuinely skin-crawling gore, violence, and practical effects. It starts with setting up the story, and it doesn't take long before you understand the dynamic between the sister and the brother, which felt absolutely authentic. And it didn't feel to me like it started slow at all, but as soon as the movie reveals its secrets and its evil side, it takes hold of you and doesn't let you look away until the end. The cinematography was excellent, with hints of foreboding sprinkled throughout, precisely shot to convey the sense of uneasiness. The cast includes Billy Barrett and Olga Miller, who are great as the siblings, but it's Sally Hawkins who really steals the show. I can't say much without spoiling things, but the raw emotional weight she brings is incredible. I honestly can't imagine anybody else pulling it off the way she does. It's definitely a character-focused movie and relies on you being invested in the characters, and luckily they pull that off. This is one of the films that I feel deserves a hype, and although it has a different atmosphere to Talk to Me, I do think fans of that will definitely not want to miss this next offering from the Filippo brothers, even though it's so intense it may only be a one-time watch. Well, that's it. My 5 favourite new films that came out in the first 5 months of this year. Have you seen any of these films? What did you think of them? Did I miss one that's on your favourites list? Thanks so much for watching, and do leave your comments down below, but remember to be respectful, and remember this is only my opinion of these films. It'll be a boring old world if we all like the same things. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and click that bell so you don't miss what's coming next on this channel. This is Jackie signing off, take care, and see you next time.